We've received representations from the Actors Union Equity, who are concerned about how this might apply to self-employed workers in the creative industries. How satisfied are you that these proposals will help claimants who do some self-employed work but are not gainfully self-employed, so are subject to all the work-related requirements as part of their claim?
So the self-employed claimants who are in intensive work search, who are not gainfully self-employed, do not have their self-employed earnings count towards their AET. Now, this is to prevent claimants who are expected to look for work from avoiding conditionality by declaring low levels of self-employed income and moving into light touch. Customers who are gainfully employed will be subject to the MIF, which is the minimum income floor. So, but in all these cases, it is about that conversation with the work coach, and we have many people, including those on zero-hour contracts and various other things, who have, I think the nature of your question was work that is non-consistent. Yes? If I'm to have interpreted that right?
I don't want to put my shoes into the work of a jobbing actor, but a jobbing actor has to do prep for performances. They need to memorise their scripts. There's a whole load of work, and when they enter the labour market as a jobbing actor, it's very, very low paid. And their argument is these requirements on a self-employed, low-paid worker prohibit them from building their career. And so, really, what I'm trying to work out is how satisfied are you that these requirements, this new legislation is adaptable enough to allow people to build careers in the creative industries?
I believe it is adaptable enough. I also believe that many people I know who have been in the creative industries, both as musicians and as jobbing actors, have had to take alternative employment to help supplement, whether it's as usherettes in theatres or working in the hospitality trade or whatever. So there's always that duality, but it comes down to talking to the work coach about what is employment and ensuring that people can be assisted to be both successful in the role they have, but also to look for other work, because I'm assuming you wouldn't think that it was acceptable to do no work. But I'll hand to Ian.
Yeah, and if I might answer in more general terms around the treatment of self-employment. So you've rightfully drawn a distinction between a claimant who is gainfully self-employed, where their work coach has judged that their self-employment is sustainable and prolonged source of income. And in that case, the application of the minimum income floor would mean that both they and their household, if they were in a couple, would be above the AET, both at its individual and couples threshold, and so they wouldn't be affected. The specific question of a claimant who has a mixture of earnings between self-employed and payroll employment, their self-employed earnings would be taken into account by the work coach when judging the appropriate conditionality earnings threshold to set for them, and the work search expectations that were reasonable for that claimant to carry out. What we wouldn't do is consider those self-employed earnings, because they are, as the Minister says, very unpredictable and often unsustained, to determine their conditionality regime. But what it does do is bring them into contact with the work coach, and actually that work coach can then have that more detailed conversation. Where there are self-employed earnings, we also tend to refer claimants directly to a dedicated self-employment work coach as well, who only works with those customers.
Because very gently, we wouldn't expect somebody on an apprenticeship scheme, for example, who is already doing their hours at work learning their trade, to be looking. But that question is very broad. Is your hypothetical actor playing Macbeth or doing a voiceover for an advert, which is the challenge that we have to deal with, if you see what I mean. And I am not unsympathetic to somebody wanting to drive a career within the creative arts at all.
You've been very...
I do apologise, but we'll have to adjourn